Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. I will be your tarot reader this evening. We are live here on Friday, March 21st, 2025, and we're going to be doing live tarot readings on the channel this evening. If you guys can see me, give me a thumbs up, like this stream, click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you are currently subscribed. Leave me a comment below in the live comment box and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Happy Friday. What's up, Matt? What's up, Diana, Kendra? We are off to the start of the weekend. So if you guys are watching this on Saturday or Sunday or Monday, we're no longer live. We were live on Friday, so please don't send any payments. Otherwise, you will get refunded. I'm here every Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and we alternate between tarot and astrology. So last week was that big old lunar eclipse in Virgo. This evening we're going to be reading tarot. So if you would like to get a reading, you can get one by scanning the QR code. It'll take you to my PayPal. We're charging $20 US donation for one card reading and $40 for a 3-card reading. Scan the QR code and get in the queue. Make sure in the memo box you let me know what your specific question is. And hopefully I can shed some light with tarot for you guys this evening. A couple just heads up on the channel. So we have horoscopes that are out already for April of 2025. So if you guys haven't already seen the horoscopes for your sun, moon, or rising sign, April is a very different month compared to what we were dealing with in March. We are still in between eclipses, so things still feel a little wonky. So I would imagine that there's a lot of stuff that's kind of still happening in your lives. I have the solar eclipse in Aries video that's also on the channel. So if you're wondering what this next week has in store, make sure you check out that solar eclipse. And you can find my Venus retrograde webinar on my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. We are still going to be in a Venus retrograde for the better part of like another 2.5, almost 3 weeks. Lots of changes with relationships, money, resources, self-esteem, and obviously personal style. So for all of that, my personal one-on-one sessions, my calendars, and all of my products, check out my website at Beyond the Veil. My newsletter. Promise not to spam you. We just send you guys emails and let you know when we have new stuff coming out on the channel. All right, so you guys will hear me do a bit of like a roll call before we get started. I'll let you know who's already in the queue. We do have memberships on my channel. I don't know if you guys know that, but I'm a full-time content creator. I put out 4 videos a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, the live Fridays, and Sundays astro weather. I create long format content, high quality. We talk about what's going on in the cosmos and how it kind of correlates and relates to world events. We teach astrology along the way. So if you guys want to support me as a full-time content creator, consider joining my memberships. Level 3 members get a reading with me once a month, and you guys get to skip the line. You don't have to wait in the queue to get a reading. So if there's any level 3 people that are here that want to pop in and cash in on their reading this month, please let me know. Otherwise, next week we are going to be doing live solar eclipse and Aries videos. So readings, I guess a live video we'll be doing readings. So if you guys want to cash in, then you could do that too. All right, so this is who I have so far in the queue. We've got a couple people here. I've got Matt, Miranda, Miss Fogle, Corey. Who else do we have? We have Joviciana. Am I saying your name correctly? Then we have Diana, Rodney, and Rachel. So let me add a couple of these people who kind of popped in. Rodney and Rachel. So if you hear your name, that means I've got you in the queue. Jovi, thank you. Jovi. I was going to say Jovi for short, but I wasn't sure. So if you hear your name, I've already got you. I will be doing the readings for you guys live. And for whatever reason, if you guys can't stay, no worries. Once this video is no longer live, you can actually come back and you can watch it at a later date. And you guys can kind of see what I have to say. Rodney is actually Kendra. Okay, I'll try to remember that. All right, so we're going to start with Matt, Miranda, and Miss Fogle. That's who we've got coming up first. So you guys are on deck. What's up, Matt? I hope you're doing well. I chuckled a little bit reading your question. It's very kind of on par for the astrology. So Matt says, I made the mistake of getting a haircut the day after the eclipse when Venus and Aries were retrograde in my first house. I've been dealing with some hair loss for a few years and I've been on meds, but for the most part, things have been okay until yesterday when I guess I miscommunicated and my hair got cut way shorter than I expected. I think the way I've been styling my hair made it look thicker in the front than it is. So even though this has been going on for a while, it came as a bit of a shock. I've gone up on the hair meds with no side effects, and I'm curious to know if I'm going to like my hair more in the coming months as it grows out, or if this is the beginning of the end for me in terms of my hair, and soon I will need to shave it or wear a hairpiece. You told me once not to do anything big until after Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces in 2026. In the coming months, I'm going to become more comfortable. Am I going to become more comfortable with my hair as it grows out and the stronger meds start working like it was mostly before? All right, so sorry to hear that you're dealing with that shock from a haircut. I'm not surprised because where you had the lunar eclipse in your 6th house, that does deal with like caretakers and body maintenance and anything in regards to the service industry. So whether it's like, a hairstylist or if it's a doctor, there was some room for error. And obviously Venus retrograde could be somebody making a mistake that's changing your personal appearance. Mercury retrograde changes your personal appearance. And now we've got a solar eclipse that's coming. So I would say a lot of it's going to be like how you maybe navigate the change, and after the eclipse, what it kind of brings up for you, like what changes you want to make with your appearance, or whether or not you go back to that hairstylist. But let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say. Is it something that he needs to be worrying about? All right, let me bring these down a little bit. Sorry, those were a little high. All right, so we have got the Ace of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the Page of Wands. Honestly, looking at this, I'm really not too worried about it. I feel like the Ace of Wands coming up in like the previous position is really kind of symbolic, saying that, hey, there's been a sudden dramatic change, right? And whether that's like cutting something off or it just being like a shock and a surprise. Obviously, this new beginning came very quickly. Maybe this can also indicate this was giving you some insight as to like what your hair would look like if it was shorter, and really being able to see like the change that's been kind of taking place with hair loss. Although Ace of Wands for me is about like new energy and rejuvenation. So it makes me feel like, okay, you're taking medication or you're taking supplements or things like that. It's going to change very rapidly. So it's not going to be something that is going to be kind of bothering you for a long period of time. I don't think you're going to have to deal with it for very long. In fact, for me, Ace of Wands is like one of the fastest moving aces. So it can mean literally within like the next month, you can already start to kind of see changes and you're adjusting to how your hair is looking now. The King of Pentacles in the current position is saying the way that you're handling it is like a boss. And it's funny that you have like a king here, which represents like growth, a mature man, and then you have like a page coming up. So maybe you're feeling like, this haircut is making you kind of more aware of your age, which by the way, like as an Aries rising, it doesn't really matter how old you are. When Saturn is crossing your ascendant, there is this sense of becoming more acutely aware of time and age. And obviously Saturn can be about thinning, whether this is like thinning out, thinning hair. And obviously, Aries, not a lot of people know this, but Aries deals with baldness. So, I think with Saturn going into your first house this year, you're already starting to feel the effects of it now because it's within a couple degrees away from ingressing into Aries. This is about coming to terms with age and that you're getting older. And you're like, okay, how am I going to navigate some of these changes? I personally feel like freaking out and assuming like, oh my God, it's going to be like this forever, or I'm going to need a hair piece, or I'm going to lose my hair. There's no need to worry about that right now. With the retrograde and like Neptune being very close by, it can definitely make you see yourself in a perspective or kind of worry about something that I feel like may not actually be reality. And the King of Pentacles is about kind of looking at the situation going, okay, I'll handle it. At some point in my life, my hair is going to thin, or I'm going to see a change in my hairline, or there is potentially going to be a few bad haircuts in our lifetime. And like, it's all about how you kind of handle it. The King of Pentacles can also mean that you're investing into something. So obviously time, energy, maybe it means that you're going to spend a little bit more money on hair products, or maybe you're spending money on, medication and things to kind of help your hair grow back. I don't foresee this being a major setback and impacting, any existing growth that you've had. I think it's just going to be a shorter haircut. And I think the Page of Wands coming up as like the final card is saying there is this return, this renewal of, a little bit of fuller hair. Obviously you see, the king, and you can't see his hair. You can kind of see a little bit of facial hair. But the page is a fire element. It does represent something kind of coming back, maybe being healthier, more vibrant, maybe being a little brighter. And it can also represent this more youthful kind of appearance. Might even have like more body to it, or might have like more fullness since you've trimmed a little bit more of it out. It can also mean that, you're getting like red light therapy, or you're working with sunshine, or maybe you're doing something that's going to be kind of stimulating the growth that can be connected to heat. I don't know if you've heard this, but like, if you trim your hair is actually going to go faster, even if you feel like it was cut a little bit short, and it may come back in healthier. And also, like, I would say with him being like a redhead and anything kind of connected to like red light therapy, that can be really great for like stimulating the scalp and the scalp growing, like hair faster. But I don't really see you regressing or having any issues with your hair loss. I feel like if anything, it's going to come back. It's going to be better. Could it take about a month or so to settle into it? Sure. And I feel like after this, you're actually probably going to keep your hair a little bit longer, because you go from like this more refined kind of conservative, shorter, kind of kept haircut to shifting into something that's a little bit more youthful. It's fun. It's fuller. Probably going to have better body. And honestly, you're going to really enjoy, I think, having it at different like lengths, or maybe there's going to be different layers or things to it, because it looks like it's going to add more fullness and volume to your hair. And you're going to look at it and you're going to kind of like laugh. So you will be able to laugh at the situation. I don't foresee it being something that's going to be too critical for too long. Probably right around the time that Venus and Mercury are coming back to around 9 degrees. That's when you're going to start to see the changes in your hair. And Venus going direct in your sign also, I think, is going to be good for like your appearance. So just for some food for thought, Venus is going to go direct and then come back into Aries, and it'll be around these degrees. So it'll be either sometime around April 25th when Mercury is at 9, or it's going to be sometime around May 13th when Venus is at 9, that you will really start to see the difference, and you will see that you're kind of getting back to where you once were prior to the eclipse and the retrograde. I do feel like this also means that you might be kind of exploring other options and other things, whether this is like looking into like another hairstylist or another salon. This can also mean that you're being more proactive with anything that you can do to kind of like revamp the health and the vibrancy of your hair. So beyond just taking a medication, it's like, are you looking at new, supplements? Are you going to be starting a new routine? Boar brush bristles are really great for brushes and combs to stimulate hair growth and like produce healthy oils, if you don't know that. I also would seriously look into red light therapy, and I kind of feel like this is about you finding other tips and tricks and things to be able to kind of work with your hair, and it's going to end up being something that I think you're going to be able to look back at and kind of chuckle, because you're going to go, okay, that was definitely a moment that I don't want to repeat. But if I had $1 for every Venus and Mercury retrograde story I've heard from my Aries risings, I would probably have about $50 by now, because all of you guys have been telling me something's gone sideways with your appearance. But you will be able to kind of hit a fresh new start after the solar eclipse. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Definitely been there, done that. I've had an eclipse and a retrograde over my natal Venus, and one time I went to go and get a gray ombre. Like my hair was really dark and I wanted it to be gray, and it, like, the stylist, for whatever reason, because of the colors that were on my hair during the retrograde eclipse, she did it and my hair turned green, and my hair was like green for like a month or two. It was horrible. So I feel your pain, but it'll get better. All right, so hopefully that's helpful for you, Matt. All right, so next we've got Miranda and then Miss Fogle. Miranda says, hey Candace, it's your favorite Scorpio rising, Libra sun, Cancer moon. I've been wanting to ask you if it's a good time to book a trip right now for early June. I keep wanting to finally book it, but things have been so crazy with planes, money, and retrogrades. Is this a good time to book a solo trip to Greece? Or do I hold off? I'm craving it, but nervous. Well, so you're Scorpio rising, so Mars is your chart ruler, and Mars has been retrograde in your 9th house of foreign travel. So part of that retrograde has been holding off on whether or not you should book a trip. And honestly, with Mercury retrograde, solar eclipses, Venus retrograde, all the stuff that's going on in your 6, a lot of it's like timing stuff. So you're trying to figure out when is the best time to plan something. So it can be also working around work schedule, health schedule stuff, timing, all that. In theory, your cards are really positive. And kind of the feeling that I'm getting with the 6 of Cups being the final card is like, you keep coming back to being like, that's a place I really want to go, right? This is about like reoccurring themes and kind of coming back to this idea. And it's like, maybe you think about it and you're like, okay, I'll do it at a later date. And then you find yourself looking at, hotels and like plane tickets and maybe itineraries and other things. So I do feel like knowing that your chart ruler is direct in the 9th house means it's okay for you to do it. Yes, it's Mercury retrograde and it's in your 6th house, which means it's going to be about scheduling and making sure that you can get in everything you want to do during your trip. It's also Venus retrograde and it's going to be going retrograde back into your 5th house, which means it's going to be about thinking, okay, do I want to take this trip with another person? Am I hoping to meet somebody while I travel? That kind of stuff. But your cards are very positive. 10 of Cups in the previous position is saying that really you're looking for something to look forward to. It's not just because you're craving travel. 10 of Cups is like, I really just want to go and have a good time. I want to enjoy myself. I want to have fun. I want to have some fun in the sun and be kind of blissed out and reward myself for, what has probably been a rather kind of turbulent last couple of years for a Scorpio rising. 10 of Cups is also kind of saying that this is something you've either always wanted to do and said that you would do, or that this is something that you would give yourself if there was going to be some kind of accomplishment. Now, in the current position, you have the Knight of Cups. So the Knight of Cups can be talking about you as a Scorpio rising. It can also be talking about another person. So this could be another water sign, Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces. Or it could be talking about a romantic partner. Now, the Knight of Cups is also somebody who like romanticizes something. So they're like idealizing, going on this trip, it's going to be so magical. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And yeah, there can be this sense of maybe kind of getting lost in like the romantic side of going on like this foreign trip and having this adventure. But I don't see it being a bad thing. I actually really like the Knight of Cups coming up with the 6 of Cups. I feel like this is about you maybe creating a vision board or sitting down and writing a list of all of the things that you would accomplish, or everything that has to kind of go forward or make happen before you can go on this trip. What I would recommend doing is I would probably just wait until Mercury is no longer retrograde and I would book something. Knowing that Mercury is going to go direct, knowing that Venus is also going to be in harmony with Mars, pretty good aspects for being able to book something. So I think you could probably get away with it if you needed to book something as early as like the 5th of April. But if you can wait until Mercury and Venus are both direct and then you have a trine from the moon, April 14th is going to be a better time to go and book something because the moon is going to be in Scorpio. You're going to be feeling like impulsively like, okay, I want to make this move. You've got trines to Venus and Saturn, so you can make a commitment to something that's going to require some money. And you're going to have a trine to Mars, which is going to be about travel. And if you can't do it all at one time, this might mean that you come back to it. So you might go, okay, I'm going to bookmark the places that I would like to stay, or I'm going to bookmark maybe some of the places I want to visit or some of the tours that I want to take. But, to create some incentive and to kind of hold on to this plan and to this dream, you might go, I'm going to book the airfare and I'm just going to get that done now. And then I can go back at a later time, reconnect to, planning this trip, and then I can plan more. I'm wondering if you're going with somebody, and if you're not going with somebody, these cards are very romantic cards. So I'm kind of wondering, like, do you meet somebody while you're in the midst of travel? Do you go with a friend and then have like a really good quality bonding time? Like there's something about some kind of an emotional connection that you have with somebody while you're going on this trip that seems very significant. And I don't know exactly when you're planning on going in June, but, we don't have Mercury retrograde in June. We don't have Venus retrograde in June. And knowing that, you're a Scorpio rising, Jupiter's actually going into Cancer in June. So it's going to go into your whole sign 9th house, and it's exalted. So it can definitely be a time that's really great for traveling. I would probably advise you to go and do this when you're going to have some trines taking place to Jupiter. So maybe when you have like the moon going into Pisces around the 16th, you could also do it right around the new moon in Cancer, which is going to be around the 25th. Those are definitely better times timing wise to go and do this. But I feel like you're just going to keep coming back to this, and inevitably you're going to end up booking something anyway. So if you want to start the process of at least booking your airfare or your accommodations, and then figuring out ways that you can start manifesting and bringing in like more cash, or setting some money aside so that way you can feel totally fulfilled with being able to go on the trip of your dreams, right? Knight of Cups. I definitely feel like it's a good time and it's very doable. And at some point in this next year, for many Scorpio rising specifically, knowing that Jupiter is going to be in your 9th house of foreign travel, you will go on a trip far away from home. And it will be something that you're going to spend a little bit more money on, because Jupiter deals with indulgence. Hope you have a blast. That is definitely somewhere that's been on my destination list for a while. I'm hoping to get there too. I actually just got back from a trip. My husband and I went to El Salvador for 8 days, and it was so much fun. So now we're like talking about where we want to go next. If we want to go to Thailand or if we want to go to Greece, we will see. All right, so next up we've got Miss Fogle, and then Corey, you're on deck too. What's up, Miss Fogle? Thank you for your generosity. She says, the estate stuff with my mom's house is done after almost 3 years. Congrats. In December, you pulled cards that said March, and it ended on 3-4. Now it's time to create new vibes. What do the cards say for me about health, wealth, and relationships? Well, girl, I know you're a Libra rising, Virgo sun, Cancer moon. How are you doing with those retrogrades in your 7th house? That's like a double dose. You had your lunar eclipse in Virgo, and obviously like as a Virgo sun, that's like major reset points spiritually, as well as getting a little quality alone time, clearing out the subconscious. And you've got those retrogrades from your 7th house of relationships into the 6th house. So there's definitely this reassessment of relationships as well as health and routine. So let's see what we can tell Miss Fogle about what is next, what is happening with these things. I have a feeling this is going to be the card of the day. It came up again, 6 of Cups. 6 of Swords, 8 of Wands, and the 6 of Cups. Okay, so the feeling that I'm getting about this is that now you feel like you can finally breathe. I know you've been dealing with like that whole like estate matter for several years. Maybe you have kind of felt like you've been in limbo. The 6 of Swords could mean that you were wanting to travel, you were putting it off. You were wanting to move, you were putting it off. You were kind of going, I can't really figure out what the next step is, where I'm going to be landing or what I'm going to be focusing on, until I finally am able to kind of clear some of this stuff up. So 6 of Swords means that you're moving on to smoother, more tranquil, kind of spaces and places. And I think this is also about wrapping up what has been going on for the last couple of years. Not even so much just in terms of what happened like with your mom and the estate, but this could mean like moving on from old health habits, moving on from old relationship habits. Obviously, knowing that Venus, your ruler, is retrograde in your relationship house, and Mercury, which is connected to your 12th house, is also retrograde. Now it's kind of like, okay, I'm wrapping up unfinished business with partners, or I'm healing issues where maybe I feel like I needed to be fulfilled through other people. I'm actually not feeling that way anymore, and I'm ready to kind of move forward. This can also be a card that can come up that can talk about movement and relocation or travel, and that might be on the agenda, and that you're kind of weighing your options, going like, okay, do I want to travel somewhere and think about where I'd want to move? Am I traveling back and forth from 2 different places? Am I wanting to kind of go on a trip? As a Libra rising myself, I got to tell you, like the lunar eclipse in Virgo had me being like, I really just want to like be alone somewhere. Like I want to go on a retreat, or I want to spend like a week in bed. So I don't know if you felt like that, but having that eclipse and then the retrogrades in the 7th is a lot of like, you're wanting to be alone, but there was a lot of interaction going on with other people. And so whether it's friends, romantic relationships, partners, business clients, whatever, there's a lot of people that are going to be coming in that are going to be disrupting your peace a little bit. So you need to kind of keep things moving, knowing that, 8 of Wands is about being like, okay, I feel like I've been pulled backwards and now I'm like full steam ahead. So 8s are always about transformation and change. 8 of Wands can be rapid shifts that are happening. It's also about physical activity and physical motion. So knowing that you're like a Libra rising and the retrogrades are going to be in your 6th house, it can mean that as Venus and Mercury go back into your 6th house, you're asking yourself, like, am I taking on too much right now? Do I need to slow down? Do I need to kind of like regulate my nervous system? Do I need to start thinking about physical fitness and wellness and how I can have a better mind, body, spirit kind of balance? Am I getting back to work? Am I changing my schedule in some capacity? That can come up too. I do think that the Six of Cups coming up is telling me that there is this sense before you fully move forward, you're reassessing the past, and not in a negative way. The Six of Cups is soulmate energy. It's very sweet. It's nostalgic. There is definitely something that is kind of connected to, okay, you know, is there a potential there? Is there a connection? What's the deal? Like, do I need to suss this situation out before I fully move on? And this could mean, you know, a health matter. This could mean a romantic relationship. This could mean a potential job opportunity. But I do think that you are optimistic about what is coming relationship-wise. This can be for a lot of single Libra risings. You know, it's the last solar eclipse in Aries that's coming up. So it means that it's like go time. If you really want a new partner or a new relationship and that's what you're seeking, then I really recommend kind of reflecting on what hasn't worked in the past and then setting intentions for what you want moving forward. As you know, Neptune's going to be in your 7th house, so that could bring in a dream type of relationship scenario. It can also bring in a nightmare where there is like a sense of idealizing somebody or somebody is kind of on and off, in and out. And then Saturn will be there as well. So some of the themes for Libra rising in this next year are going to be where relationships and home dynamics are coming together as one. So you can meet people that are asking you to relocate for them or vice versa. There can also be a sense of like issuing new boundaries with certain relationships with who does or does not have access to your home base. But I feel like if you've been kind of frazzled, it would be a good time maybe to take like a short break away, just to get away, just to kind of clear your head. And whether that means you have to reassess living stuff or like romantic relationship stuff, you get that restart and then you can come back and better decide what you're going to be really focusing on. I think you have a lot to look forward to, knowing that Jupiter's also going to go into your 10th house pretty soon. So that's going to be great for forward motion with your career and anything in regards to communications with people out in the world, your professional life, your reputation. It can also be an indication that there is going to be a lot more emphasis on communication or travel when it comes to work. So these cards are very travel, movement oriented cards as well. So enjoy this little bit of downtime while you have it, because the more that we get into like May, June, July, you're going to see that things are just going to be incredibly busy. So take time to kind of restart and strategize and think about where you want to go with some of these topics. Hope that's helpful for you. Hey, Contessa, I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. That's a bummer. I've heard a lot of people under the weather with these retrogrades and these eclipses. It has been wild. Thanks, Jules. I will make a note of that before I do your reading. And if you guys are just checking in, you want to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there. It'll take you to my PayPal. We're doing 1-card readings for $20, 3-card readings for $40. And make sure you put your question in the memo box for me, please. All right, so we've got Corey up next, and then we've got Jovi, and then we've got Diana. All right, so Corey is here. Hi, Candace. Corey here. My girlfriend and I broke up during the holidays and no contact for a month and a half. Around mid-February, we started talking and seeing each other again, which I assume was within Venus-Mercury retrograde pre-shadow. We didn't officially get back together, but at least we've been talking and things have been going smoothly. Since we aren't officially dating, there is sporadic communication, and I can't tell where this is really going. How do you feel about this situation from the cards? What might be going on that I can't see or hear? Where is this going between us? I'm a Cancer sun, Gemini rising, Sag moon. She is a Virgo sun, Libra rising, Aries moon. Woof. Well, I would say for your chart, being a Gemini rising with Jupiter sitting on your ascendant, it does mean that you're going to bring in partners, but they're going to be kind of like their communication is going to feel like a little scattered, right? Just a little bit. I also feel like for you have to look at what's going on with transits to your natal 7th house ruler. So that would be Jupiter. So you need to look at what transits are hitting Jupiter right now. And then knowing that they are a Libra rising, Aries moon, Virgo sun, The South Node eclipses in the 12th house are bringing up issues pertaining to like going through an identity crisis or kind of like clearing out or maybe just needing more alone time. And then Venus retrograde in the 7th, reassessing relationships. Mercury retrograde in the 7th, to communication issues with partners. They can feel like partners are a little impatient, or maybe it means that they're prioritizing themselves over their partners right now. And then on top of all of that, you're also going to see a solar eclipse in the 7th house. So I don't know how long you guys have been dating, but you might want to think back to spring of 2024 and 2023 to kind of think about what was going on during those solar eclipses. Just to be honest with you, like with their chart, right? Like for a Libra rising right now, because Venus is in and out of the 7th house, they are going back and forth as to whether or not they want to stay in a relationship or if they want to cut and run. And because Mercury is retrograde as well, they're not fully communicating that, or they will communicate and then they will disconnect, or then they'll come back and then they'll disconnect. And so there is like this wavering effect. And then Saturn and Neptune are going to go into the 7th. So it can mean that partners, you know, her partner is feeling like they're not getting what they need and they're getting frustrated. Anyway, Death card, 10 of Wands, 4 of Cups. You know, I feel like the Death card coming up definitely feels to me as if there have been some things that have happened that have been definitively impacting the relationship. And it's like, sometimes I say this to clients when the Death card comes up, like during a reading, where I'm like, look, one of two things is going to happen in this relationship, okay? Either A, you guys are, you know, not going to get back together and it's dead and it's over, Death card, or you are going to get back together, but you guys have to start from ground zero. Like you literally have to start over, because you can't go back to the way things were before, because either too much has happened or there has been too many issues or there's been too many hurt feelings, and like you guys cannot continue the same cycle or the same pattern and actually have a relationship that is going to be like vital, right? So that Death card being in the past position makes me feel like what has come up that you guys may, or one or the two of you may not be able to really move on from. And you need to acknowledge like where there are certain habits or patterns that need to end. And certainly there's some hurt feelings, or there's some feelings like maybe there are some things that you can't come back from. And I don't know if that's you or if that's, you know, her, but I definitely feel like they need to be addressed, because you don't want to just sweep it under the rug. With the 10 of Wands coming up in the current position, there is this feeling that's just like, man, I'm trying, you know, I'm really trying to be strong, keep on, not give up, be consistent with the relationship, stay the course, and see if you just see it through. And if you get through this rough patch, if things are actually going to get better. And to me, this is like, I think, a reflection of you, that you're not really willing to or wanting to walk away. You know, both of you guys have your moons in the 7th house. And so I do think that to some extent, people who have the moon in the 7th house, they're very relationship oriented people, right? Like for you right now, having Jupiter going through your 7th house and your 7th house Lord is on your ascendant, it means you need to have a better relationship with yourself. And the better that you're working on the relationship with yourself, better communicating your needs, being in tune with your emotions, like relationships can get better. So it's a period of independence. It's literally mirroring your partner's transits, as they have Saturn going into the 7th house, where partner's going to be more independent, more self-sufficient. Retrogrades are in the 7th house, where they're focusing more on themselves and how they react and how they respond to things. And then also there is going to be an eclipse there. So like literally the charts are saying the same thing. So I would say it's less about the struggle of what can we work on? What can I do to fix this for us? How can I bring them back? What can I do to show them more? What am I doing to work on myself? And also that Libra rising as well. I mean, I think that the Libra rising is like learning to be more assertive about their needs towards their partners. And then the partners are actually benefiting from being like, whoa, okay, something I've been doing or saying or a way that I've been acting, it's not helping the relationship. So I'm going to work on myself. And like you guys can work through some of this stuff. I think it can actually get better. The challenge here is with the 4 of Cups coming up, there is this feeling that's like, you may feel as if no matter what you do, that it's not being recognized or you're not getting credit for what you're doing right. There can also be this feeling that you kind of assume, or you get the impression that your partner is kind of being like, they can take it or leave it, you know? 4 of Cups is not being phased, not being impressed. It's not being fulfilled. It almost feels like nothing is ever going to be good enough. And so it can feel like
it will get to a point where you just keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying. And if you're doing it more for them and not for yourself, then yeah, you're going to hit a wall and you're going to not get the attention or, you know, the appreciation from your partner. And simultaneously, I feel like you're not going to be totally fulfilled with the relationship dynamic because, you know, you're not working on what you need to be working on. Down the road, you will also have a Mercury retrograde that's going to be in Sagittarius in your 7th house, and that's going to be at the end of this year. And that'll be like another check-in time, but intuitively, I feel like this is more about you working on yourself and showing your partner, especially knowing they're a Libra rising, through actions, how you're showing up for yourself, and there's more accountability on your actions and your behavior. I'm not saying it's all you, but showing the Libra rising is going to get you a lot further than just telling them something. And by the, you know, and to play devil's advocate, like thinking about your chart, like the more that you're in tune with yourself and you're focusing on yourself, and your partner kind of gets the impression that you're not waiting to see what they're going to do, or you're not like vying for their attention, they're going to be like, what's going on? What are they doing? And then Jupiter in your ascendant will actually bring a partner closer to you. They'll communicate better. They'll kind of be around better, all of that fun stuff. I would give this, to be honest with you, you know, you've got a 10 and you've got a 4. 4 of Cups is roughly about like 4 weeks. Knowing that it's going to take another 4 weeks to get out of the Mercury, you know, Venus kind of retrograde stuff. We're going to be feeling Venus retrograde clear until May. By the end of April, I think a lot of this stuff is going to clear up, but I want to make sure that you're not going overlooked in terms of some of the you know, commitments and the changes that you're trying to make for the relationship. Know that, you know, you're going to also see Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. And so as a Gemini rising, that shift away from, okay, worrying about work and your public image to, okay, what about my relationships with friends? Do I have community? Am I going out and meeting people? Do I have support, like people who I can kind of hang out with and people who can support me? So you have a dynamic outside of your romantic relationship that's kind of balancing things, can actually really help you. But I just have this sneaky suspicion with that 4 of Cups coming up that, yeah, it almost feels as if no matter what you do, even if you do absolutely every single thing that this partner of yours is requesting of you or asks you to do, even if you do it all by the book, it's going to feel like they're like, well, it's not good enough. You know, they're still going to nitpick certain things. There's going to be a sense of just like you're giving them exactly what they want and they're not really kind of getting it. And so the downside of this is that some Libra risings with Saturn and Neptune going into their 7th house, they are not dealing with their shadow self. Maybe they have unrealistic expectations in relationships. Maybe they can be feeling like they're, you know, kind of not aware, but they can be projecting onto partners or relationships like, oh, you're not giving me what I need, when in reality, they're not actually showing up in the relationship. And Queen of Coins comes up, which tells me that they are in it. But there's a difference between being in a relationship and just going through the motions and being in a relationship and being checked in, right? Because you guys can be together, but you might feel like they're not there. So if you're noticing that there is some coldness or that there is some distance, part of that can be the Saturn ingress, but part of it can also be the fact that she is looking at relationships either from a delusional kind of Neptunian standpoint, or she's looking at a relationship more from the Saturn standpoint that's like, I want more, I need more out of relationships. So definitely go and look at what transits are happening to your natal Jupiter, and go and look at what transits are happening to her natal Venus. That's going to give you a little bit more insight, but give it a month to see if some of this stuff shakes out. Just don't be surprised if she's just a little bit like more critical, but certainly kind of really blossoming in your social kind of zones and your friendship zones and really prioritizing yourself is going to have that Libra rising wondering like, what are they doing? And then Jupiter will kind of keep them more around, right? Either way, you got to start over. So hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight. Definitely lots of challenges for relationship dynamics for a lot of people this month. Sending you good vibes. Thanks, Rosary. I appreciate it. This is one of my favorite decks. All right, so we have got here Jovi, Diana, and then we are going to be having Kendra. Thank you, CD. Appreciate it. All right, so Jovi says, whatever comes out in love for me for the rest of the year. Also, I'd like to know why I keep getting dreams seeing a guy's name I dated right before COVID. He's married now and I have no interest. I respect his union, though the dreams are non-stop. seems to be pretty common, I would have to say. I've heard a lot of people talking about this because there's so many planets in Pisces, like Saturn, Neptune, Venus is going back there, Mercury's going back there. There's a lot of stuff getting cleared out in the collective, and I think for a lot of people it could be maybe there was potential, like if you guys believe in like parallel universes or like string theory, like there could have been potential relationships, possibilities there that were unfulfilled, and you went one way and they went another way. But it could also be that you have people that are like still looking into you and what you're doing, or you have people that are like thinking about you, and then you're getting like that psychic ping. But let's see what's going on. What do we need to know for Jovi for the rest of the year? And is there any insights to what is happening with these weird dreams of this married dude? Here we go. It's going to be one of those nights. We have got the Death card again, the Lovers card, and the Five of Swords. So this is kind of like a double-edged sword. I think this is answering both of your questions. On one hand, I kind of feel like, there definitely is this sense of where you've been and what you've done. Okay, if you're going to pull the Death card, pulling the Death card in the previous position is so much better than pulling it in the future or the current position, because there is like this sense of being like, whatever happened, happened. If something didn't work out, if somebody, didn't get their feelings out, if they didn't get to discuss them or talk about it or whatever, like it's in the past, like whatever has happened now. You're not caught up on it, but there is a possibility that you're dealing with a person who is in their mind rehashing or rethinking who they've been with, where they've been, what experiences they've had, and whether or not they made the right choice or the right decision. So you might look at it as like, I don't care about this person, but that person might be married in a relationship, going through some challenges and going through their mental Rolodex, kind of being like, well, who have I been with, and who was a good time, and who was fun, and like, who could have potentially got away, and like, did I screw up? And like, this has nothing to do with you. It has more to do with something somebody else is processing and going through, because literally something's not working. There's a season of change. The Lover's card represents options, choices, some kind of connection that was like more intimate, and it represents temptation and something that they really like and that they realized they had, but now there's no going back. And then you've got Five of Swords, which is like, well, I can't really communicate the way I would want to communicate with that person. There can also be like this feeling that's like being conflicted about their thoughts and their emotions when it comes to relationships. Now, when it comes to future stuff for you, look, you got two heavy hitting cards right in between the Lover's card, which is still a positive card. If you're like, hey, I'm open to meeting somebody, I want a relationship, I would like to partner with someone. This is a card that's saying pay attention to basically June through November. That's going to be your timeline. November, kind of October, November, Scorpio, and then May, June obviously is going to be Gemini. So this is the time that you're going to be kind of working with. This could also be the new moons and the full moons right around those times. That's when you're going to want to pay attention. Pay attention for Scorpios or for Geminis that can be kind of popping up. But I think the Death card and the Death card and the Lover's card is really saying that you're reflecting on what has not worked in the past. And that wherever you've been, whatever you've done, whatever has kind of fallen apart or didn't work out happened for a reason. And you're trying to kind of keep that perspective and that frame of mind, okay? It didn't work out with somebody in the past because you were meant to be with somebody else. And that there is another potential or multiple potential people who might be coming in this year. I like the Lover's card because it's passionate. It does talk about not just, having compatibility and not just maybe having companionship, but it's about sex and intimacy and passion and togetherness and like being able to have what it is that you really want. What would keep you from having that though, right? Maybe fears of vulnerability. Certainly Five of Swords is fears of being able to communicate or not feeling heard. Maybe there could be irrational thoughts or concerns about being blocked, or where there's been past relationship karma or things where people are interested in you, that it's kind of muddying the waters. I like the Five of Swords for like cord cutting. I feel like if you feel as if it's insecurities, past relationships, past people who are currently spying, insecurities, use this as an opportunity with the Five of Swords to come up to be like, let's address some of those issues. Let's deal with it head on. Maybe let's make a list of the people or the things that you're like, okay, any karmic connections to these people, the contracts are null and void. I'm free of them. I'm setting myself free, and then you recycle that paper, you burn it, you do whatever you want to do with it. And that way you can really move forward. I do feel like, I'm of the frame of mind that I personally believe that if there are people who are they have their tentacles out in the ethers and they are psychically connecting to you or looking at your social media or obsessing over you or whatever, that can impact you. That can definitely impact you from moving forward, because then what happens? You're stuck, you're having dreams, you're like, this is confusing, what does this mean? And it's disrupting your flow of being able to bring in something that you do want. So I think that it's a good idea maybe to do some of this death lovers work where you're like, okay, you know what? Out with the old, in with the new. I don't know what this weird stuff is that's going on with these dreams, but, this guy's got to stop reaching out to me on the ethers. Maybe it's about, making a list of things that you want to kind of burn or that you want to kind of terminate and get rid of. So you're symbolizing, no, that connection is dead. That did not happen. There is not a future there. I'm sorry if you're not happy. I don't want anything to do with it. Let's move forward and let's bring somebody new in. And very much so, like the death card is kind of like the fertilizer, right? For letting something new grow. It's the bones, it's the manure, it's all of like the stuff that's broken down that's kind of used to kind of nourish the soil, so that way the flowers can grow. So I think that actually wrapping some of this stuff up, even if you don't feel connected to it, is important. So that way it's really providing a solid kind of potential for a new relationship to come in, and you're clean of any of like the psychic debris. So maybe like doing a salt bath, doing a cord cutting ritual could be a good time to do it, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me know if any of those Scorpios or Geminis pop in. Certainly those can be some of the more tricky men of the zodiac to deal with. All right, so if you guys are still here, we're still taking readings. You can scan the QR code right up there and you can get a reading. I would love to answer your questions. We have Diana, and we also have Kendra and Rachel. You guys are all on deck. I don't see any level 3 people. I feel like everybody's holding out for next week for that solar eclipse. It's gonna be something else. All right, Diana says, I'm a sun in Pisces, moon in Libra, Virgo rising. Reading based on what's coming up for work. Having a hard time with current clients. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Certainly those retrogrades in your 7th house can be really annoying for dealing with clients. A lot of people who are like messy, they don't remember their appointments, they don't communicate very well, they're not taking responsibility for stuff. So let's see if we can give you a little bit of insight for what's going on with clients during this time and what you need to be watching out for. Okay, well, this is good news. The sun. I kind of have the feeling that, first of all, the sun comes out after the rain, right? After the storm. So the sun can be a positive card for positive accomplishments, being able to conquer, some of your career-related goals, being able to overcome things, shining a light on something, and some kind of success and victory after trouble. Know that so many of the retrogrades in your 7th house deal with whether or not, you're going to continue to work with people, if you guys are a good match for one another, if they are communicating effectively, if they are feeling supported, if they're being a good team player for you, vice versa. And those retrogrades are going through your 8th house where the sun is going through right now, Aries. So it's about you going like, well, how does this impact me financially? And there could be lots of changes with clients going on because of their financial situation, or through changes with clients, it can be impacting your financial situation. And whether that's like your debt, your income, your investments, all that stuff can be the 8th house. But I feel like with Venus going back into Pisces pretty soon, it's actually going to be able to smooth over some of the issues you've had with certain clients. It could help you kind of strengthen the bonds with some people. There could be some defined decisions about working together and money. Equally, the Sun card is really kind of clarifying, saying like, there is this rebirth that's going to be going on, but it's a lot about how you're approaching some of your relationships and being understanding and compassionate for what people are going through, but also not taking any shit. The Sun is just about kind of calling a spade and being like, look, if you want to do the work, this is what we're doing together. This is how I can help you. This is what I hope to achieve moving forward. You're in or you're out. And when one door closes, another door opens when you have retrogrades. So if you're closing doors to certain clients, or you're saying, hey, this is the end of the road, it is likely that that is actually going to create space to bring new people in. So I don't really see it being a bad thing. I think for a lot of my Virgo risings, seeing Jupiter going through your 10th house for this next year is actually going to be beneficial. It's only going to get better as you're getting into the summer. And you may even be kind of weighing out, your options as to whether or not you're going to take on another gig, or there's going to be another aspect of your business that you're going to be kind of exploring. But shine a light on some of the problems is what I would say with the sun. And I do feel like you're going to really start to see a turning point where probably within like the next solar sign. So as we're getting into like Taurus and then what will be Gemini season, you're going to see that things are actually going to improve. But all those retrogrades in your 7th house has people lost. What's up, Red Druidess? Hey, Ari. Big sun, Leo energy, that is for sure. You're welcome. Kendra's here. She says, one card, just general, Virgo, sun, and rising. I've been going through it for the last week. Well, let's take a look. Those South Node eclipses are no joke. I'm so glad that I'm done with them as a Libra rising. I'm over it. I'm so glad they're done. All right, let's see. What can we tell Kendra for her going through it? What does she need to know? You're going to laugh at this one. Hangman. Well, to some extent, the hangman coming up is really referencing pause and reflection, right? So it's kind of being like, all right, obviously in this card, hanging upside down like the true hangman card is, also walking on what appears to be like a bit of like a tightrope or a board, or walking the plank. It can feel like you're being led into the unknown. It can mean that you're being asked to not make any serious decisions right now. It can also mean that you're trying to look at things from a different perspective. I tried to tell my Virgo risings, I was like, get ready. I was like, because with the South Node being in your sign and having Saturn in opposition to that, it's going to be a doozy. And it's a lot of relational things that are going on where you feel like you're in limbo. You're shedding old skin. You're going through major personal changes, major appearance changes, almost like an identity crisis. I think like when the South Node went through my first house, that's kind of what it felt like for about a year. But on the other side of that, there's all of these layers that you shed, and then there is something new that will emerge. So it does get better. It's challenging because all of the planets are in your opposite sign right now, and it's like retrograding through your 7th. So where Virgo risings are used to being the people who have all of the answers, they help people, they clean things up, they fix things, they pride themselves on being like perfect and like very articulate. You're working with polar energy where, you're going from the person giving advice to being like, now I need advice. And the 7th house should be encouraged. Getting therapy, right? Working with a counselor, working with a manager. Sometimes it's about working with an intuitive or getting a reading. These are things that are very abstract that can definitely give you perspective and help you see things in a not so rational way. I mean, like, tarot, astrology, mediums, like psychic related things, these are all like Pisces stuff, and you need people who are going to be able to kind of see through the fog. Some of them can be bullshit artists for sure, but others can also help you see things in a very different way and maybe give you some insight as to why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, or how to navigate some of your like relational matters. Why is that important? Is that the hangman deals with Neptune and deals with Pisces. So it is about being like, okay, well, maybe the world is not black and white. Maybe it is a matter of seeing it, instead of this way, it's that way. And it might be very different than how you have always kind of seen yourself or how you saw your life kind of going. Not the time to make big decisions, right? And as a Virgo rising, knowing that Mercury is retrograde in your 8th house of change, Venus is retrograde in the house of change, and Saturn and Neptune are going there. The truth is, and I talk about this actually in my video on Sunday, I'm like, the 5th house is where you date and fall in love and hook up. The 7th house is where you commit. The 8th house is true intimacy. Talking about fear, trauma, taxes, credit scores. It's about sex. It's about kind of stripping everything away and merging and becoming one. So there's fear of vulnerability. There's fear of being seen. There's also this need to have deeper, intimacy with other people, raw vulnerability, right? Aries in the 8th house. Take time to let things settle in. We're in between eclipses. So it's not really going to be until the next solar eclipse that we're going to be having here in about a week's time that you're going to have that opportunity to hit restart and kind of figure out how you can get to the core of some of these things you've been afraid of and deal with them head on. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Virgo rising, getting slapped. Just playing catch up with the chat. Candace, thank you for the reading. You're welcome. If I read for you. Always wanted to connect to my roots and it's been calling my name. Oh, okay, there you are. I hope you go. That sounds like so much fun. Thank you. I've been clueless this week, no matter how much I've tried. Out of your control. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. I'm trying to remember the name of this. I think it's called Pup Essentials. I think that's the name of the company. You can send them a photo of your dog and they'll scan it on like a sweatshirt, or they put it on like tote bags actually. If you get when I got a sweatshirt from them, they sent me a tote bag with my dog's face on it. And of course I picked like the ugliest, toothiest picture of him. I have one of his little heads as my air freshener in my car too. But they're like a small owned company out here in Austin. So you guys should check them out. All right. So who else do we have? We have Rachel. Let me update my list and see who else I've got. Thank you guys for your patience. Rachel is going to be next. I'm curious to see what's going on with you, Rachel. Another Virgo rising. All right, we got some other people that popped in here. I'm just updating. So if you hear your name, I have you. Rachel, David, ASAP, Amanda, Maria, Jennifer, Lewis, Sasha, ASAP again. I got both of you. Both of your payments. All right, so let's go back. Let's see. Rachel, you're up next, and then David and ASAP, you guys are on deck. Okay, so Rachel says, would love a read on my relationship with Pajama Guy. I have to ask, how long has this been going on for? Has it been like 2 years? It's got to be at least 3, because I remember talking to you about this in Vegas. All right, so I want a reading on my relationship with Pajama Guy. We are together, but wondering if it's going to last. He is still distant, and there's a new guy who's been chasing me, and I feel vulnerable to it because I don't feel super solid with Pajama Guy. What do you see? Virgo rising, Pajama Guy is a Cancer rising, the new guy is Sag rising. It might just be Mercury retrograde thing. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what I can tell you. 5 years. Oh, what do we need to know? I mean, I think the Mercury and the Venus retrograde in your 7th is like, yeah, Mercury is doubles. So it's about somebody else coming in that could be a potential, and it's also tempting. These are the cards that you got in the order that you got them. And I'm not even kidding you. Like, look at how many of the same cards are coming up. And I just sat here and shuffled. So we've got the Hangman, the Two of Swords, and the Devil card. I mean, I feel like off the bat, this is you going, I feel stuck. I'm in a situation. I don't know how to move forward. Do I take the bait? Do I not? There is this tempting potential, yummy opportunity that is being presented to me, the devil. Do I take the forbidden fruit, right? And what you're really also talking about here is Saturn, the devil, in Pisces. Karmic situations happen when Saturn's in, your 7th house in regards to relationships. And it could be the absence of somebody. Well, when somebody is distant, what happens? Does somebody else come in, right? Venus going through there is actually about bringing you somebody who can be more, I think, aligned with your values. 2nd house ruler, somebody who's more down to travel, somebody who sees from your perspective or your philosophy a little bit better. It could also be somebody who makes you feel wanted. And I guess you don't need a transit for that. I feel like a lot of people cheat because they're unhappy in their relationships. At least I could say that for women. Women have a tendency, they'll cheat because they want somebody who's going to notice them or value them or make them feel good about themselves. Not that men don't, but I feel like that's what women are really looking for. So with that Saturn-Venus transit going on, it's like, well, there's a lack of one relationship and somebody else who comes in that makes you feel fulfilled. And I'm not going to say take the bait, because I don't think that you're really going to act on it, but I think that that doesn't mean that you're not thinking about it and questioning whether or not, whoa, wait a second, is this something that's coming in that's like trying to kind of maybe tempt me away from this situation? And also, you've been a little indecisive, or there's been this sense of like you not wanting to make a move. Sometimes the Hangman comes up where we can feel like almost like paralyzed. We're stuck. We don't know how to make a move. And I feel like I can say that with this card coming up, because the Two of Swords is coming up as well. Sometimes the Hangman is about perspective, but when the Hangman comes up with the Two of Swords, it's like, no, you've been in that situation. You've been thinking about it for a very long time, questioning and wondering where this is going to go and what's going to happen. And now the universe is sending somebody else in to kind of tempt you to see if you're going to take the bait, and also maybe possibly to show you that there are other people that are out there. Confirmation card that you get is the Ace of Pentacles. That basically means that I don't think this is a situation where this other guy is just coming in because it's tempting. Okay, Ace of Pentacles is coming up saying, any which way you slice it, whether this is the new guy that's interested in you or this is the potential relationship that you're in, there is a solid future for you. There is a solid commitment. There is a solid relationship. But once you go down the path of being like, okay, I'm going to, maybe see another person, or I'm going to be, dating outside of this exclusive relationship, that's when you know that the relationship is over, that it's not working, right? And so you guys are technically, officially together, right? So if you're together, there needs to be this sense of being able to sit down and communicate and talk about the fact that you haven't felt connected, that it's leaving you with doubts, that, you're afraid that you're falling back into old patterns, because if you can do that, it can get you back on the right track. And I think the Ace of Pentacles can mean that it can actually really give you an idea as to whether or not you guys can really build a solid foundation for the future. If he's really in it, if you really want to waste your time, you're going to get more clarity as to whether or not you guys are wanting the same thing out of the relationship. So that way you're not feeling like, well, you're going to wonder woulda, coulda, shoulda. If you get your answer up front, ideally within like the next several weeks, this could be about a month or two, then you're going to be able to go, okay, you know what? If he's not really wanting the same things that I want, then I can realistically get out of feeling like I've been kind of frozen with fear, make a decision to see what else is out there, give this other person a chance. I'm not getting any bad vibes. I just think that the way that it's being presented to you almost feels like it's like tempting, when in reality, it's meant to show you, I think, polarity and dynamic, that you can have somebody that's unsure, but you can have another person that's like, hey, what's up? Let's hang out. I'm all in. To show you that it shouldn't have to be that hard to get that back and forth, or that communication, or that commitment from a relationship, that, you can be wanted, or you can have somebody who's checked in and you don't have to feel like you have to try so hard. Right? Anyway, I hope that that's helpful. Certainly really, really tricky for Virgo risings with that retrograde. Guy is king vibes. I love that. What sign is he? We've got David, and then ASAP, and then Amanda. And if you guys are still wanting to get a reading, you can still check in. We have the queue open. We'll leave it open for a little bit longer. All right, so David says, hey Candace, any insight via 3-card draw on my financial situation? What's up, Dave? All right, what can we tell Dave about his financial situation? What does he need to know? Shuffle these cards really well, because we're seeing a lot of death cards. We're seeing a lot of hangman. Maybe that's just the vibe right now. I don't know. All right, so these are the cards that you get. I'm not even kidding. It's going to be one of these nights. You guys know, if you've watched this long enough, you know that there will be like a card of the evening that wants to make itself known. Well, so far we're seeing a lot of hangman. I shouldn't even say it. Tarot's like sassy. It'll just like give it to you. Should I say what I need to know for the new feature? Yeah, that's fine. But specifically, if it's about a financial situation, it's interesting. You get the 6 of Wands, the Hangman, and the Temperance card. So for me, when the Temperance card comes up as the final card, It is a reminder that patience is a virtue, right? Patience and persistence will pay off, that it's a matter of timing, that the right pieces of the puzzle are coming together. Things are actually starting to level out, that it's going to actually end up being better than you think. It's going to be a healed situation. You're going to get what you need. It's just waiting for all of the pieces, right? It's almost like I always say this, like the crock pot. The temperance card is the crock pot. You have to put all the stuff into it. You have to turn it on. You have to let it sit, and you have to let it cook. There are certain irons in the fire, or there are certain things that are going on right now that it's just a matter of timing and things lining up. What's working in your favor is the Six of Wands, which tells me whatever is going on financially, you're not just like an ostrich sticking your head in the sand. You're being proactive. So you're either saying, okay, I'm going to do something about it. I have a goal. I'm going after something. I'm hoping to accomplish something. I'm hoping that this risk is going to pay off. I'm hoping that I'm going to end up getting the loan. I'm hoping that I'm going to end up getting, the raise, or that the money is going to come through, and like you're optimistic. So approaching it in an optimistic fashion about a can-do attitude is everything. And like, honestly, guys, things are really difficult right now. I know everybody's in different spaces and places astrologically and also just emotionally, but like when Venus goes retrograde, money is tight, and it's much more challenging and difficult to feel like we have what we need. It's harder to afford things. It's harder to bring in money. It's harder to cash out on things. We don't get the support that we usually do. When Mercury's retrograde, we have delays with communications and contracts. So if you've been promised you were going to get something and you're like waiting for it to show up, there can be this feeling that's like it's not here. The positive is that as we get into the rest of the month with a solar eclipse and planets going direct next month, people are going to be like, I'm taking matters into my own hands. Nobody's going to help me. I'm going to pick myself up by the bootstraps. I'm going to figure it out. And there's this can-do attitude. So you're not only saying that you're being positive and optimistic, but you're like, I'm going to do what I got to do. I don't care if I have to hustle a little bit on the side, or if I have to, do something just to bring in some extra cash, or if I have to just be consistent until I meet my goal. You're doing it. What's interesting is that the Hangman comes up in the current position, and it's like, dude, Pisces is the collective. With the North Node in Pisces, everybody needs to chill. People are going to feel crazy. A lot of people are going to be paranoid. There's going to be some people being like, this is the end of the world. Saturn is there, Neptune is there, and we're going to see Mercury and Venus there pretty soon. We can choose crazy land, or we can choose vision boarding, visualizing, meditation, prayer. Gratitude work is a really, really important thing when you have planets that are going through Pisces. Having a practice daily where you take 10 minutes and you're having gratitude for the things that you already have. And also including in that list, because the body doesn't know anything other than vibration, if you need extra cash, you need better health, if you're needing a better job, it's, oh, thank you, universe, so much for providing me with, this extra $1,000 this month. Thank you for providing me with this job that is like so beneficial. And it's so, I'm so thankful to have this new position. I'm so thankful to have this good health. You can be practicing gratitude for things before you have it. Because vibrationally, that's what we're getting into. We're going to learn with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, our vibration creates our reality. And we can have the reality of, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Or we can look at things and go, wow, this is amazing. The universe gave me this opportunity to learn this lesson. Like, I'm going to go make lemonade. Because it's not an easy transit. Saturn and Neptune conjunct are not easy. And Saturn and Aries is having to learn how to do something on its own, right? It's like giving a little kid a briefcase and saying, go to work. Putting a suit on him and saying, go to work. A kid's not going to know how to do that. So we're having to learn how to do things that we wouldn't typically do. Moving out of victim mentality and moving into taking the initiative. So actually, you're doing the things, Dave. You're doing everything. The Hangman is now saying, trust the process. Now it's about being like visualizing it, thanking, your guardian angels, your spirit team, practicing your gratitude work, and being like, okay, I have mixed all the ingredients. I've done everything I need to do. Now let's let the magic happen and see what kind of shows up. I would visualize and I would meditate, whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve, what you're hoping to get, whether it's a dollar amount, if it's a check, if it's a new job, if it's a bank loan going through, you're visualizing it. How does it feel when you receive that? That's what the Hangman wants you to do. It just wants you to kick back and wait. Why? Because Temperance is saying certain things are having to come together in order to make that happen. Clients always get so frustrated, like when I do readings sometimes and I see like the Temperance card or I see the Tower card, And I'm like, well, what do you expect? You're asking for this very specific situation. And in order for this very specific situation to unfold, if it's meant to unfold, there's all these other things that have to happen before that can kind of come to fruition. You're having that moment, but it's less about you. It's actually more about other situations outside of you in order to bring you the resources and the support that you need. And Temperance is also saying that the situation is going to balance out, that it's not going to be some, lottery winning situation, but that you're going to end up kind of having what you need. And it's also going to be about keeping things in flow. So money in, money out, maybe you need resources to come in so you can pay things. And then you're also kind of focusing on how you can be able to save or how you can be able to invest so you can keep everything afloat and keep everything in balance. And also paying it forward. This can mean that you're doing small acts of appreciation or gratitude. Like, I was thinking like recently, last time I went to go and get a coffee, I go to like the same like coffee place all the time, and they have these stamp cards, and after you go 10 times, they stamp it. And so I come up to the window and I'm so excited because I finally have my full stamp card, so I should get my free coffee. And some chick goes, yeah, the guy ahead of you paid for your coffee. It's free. And I was like, that's cool, like $5, like that didn't really cost them anything. But like things like that really positively impact other people and incentivizes you also to pay it forward to other people. So knowing that money is like a frequency and that right now there's like a lot of flow going on, if you're trying to attract more of it, consider small acts of kindness and things you can do for other people to kind of get in that flow of bringing it your way. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. He says, I'm focused on the long term. Well, then don't sweat any of the shitstorm that's going to be kind of happening economically currently right now, because the next month or two it's going to be a little intense, but we're definitely going to see, especially towards the end of this year, things are really going to start to kind of like peak up. You're going to see some really positive changes at the end of 2025. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Dave. It's always great to see you in here. Thanks for hanging out with us on Friday. All right, so we have ASAP. That says, I want a 1-card reading. I'm a Sag. Will my ex-girlfriend, the Libra, come back? We were together for 6 years and separated. And then your other comment says, sorry, I'm new to the process. I just submitted another 20 for a total of 40. I want a 3-card reading. What does the future hold for us? We've been together 6 years, separated in November of 2024. We've been no contact for 3 months. I'm a Sag sun and moon with a Cap rising. They are a Libra sun, Libra rising, Leo moon. Okay, so Libra rising's doing the back and forth with the relationships right now. Are they in or are they out? And for some of them, they feel like they're not sure about a relationship. For others, they feel like they have higher expectations. But knowing that you're a Cap rising, Mars has also been retrograde in your 7th of relationships. So there's been a back and forth in your own chart. But let's ask the cards. Let's see. They've been together for 6 years, separated since November. There's been 3 months of no contact. But the question is, will they reconnect? Sag moon and Sag sun. That is definitely interesting because a lot of Sagittarius placements are going to have good transits with their relationships. But let's see. Is that going to happen for you? And what do we need to know about whether or not this Sag is going to get their Libra back? Oh boy. 3 of Cups, the Fool, and the Justice card. Are you here in the chat? Are you here in the chat? I have questions. I have questions. What's the deal with the third party? And I hate to like be so blunt, but I've been reading tarot enough to know that when I see the Fool card coming up with the 3 of Cups or the 3 of Cups and the Justice card, who's the third party? What's the deal? What's going on? 3 of Cups represents 3s being a crowd, okay? This can also represent in the past that there was a lot of good times. There was a lot of togetherness. There was a lot of like support. Oh, there it is. Some guy from her job. Yeah. Okay, a Pisces. Libra rising, you have to understand, Mercury's going retrograde in their 7th into their 6th, which means that they're not telling their partner something, or they're not communicating with a partner because something is going on at work, or there's a health situation going on, or maybe that there's something going on with a coworker. And then Venus, their ruler, is also retrograde in the 6th. Something's going on with a coworker. My thought on this is to be honest with you, is that she's kind of fucking around. And even though you guys aren't together, there's like this sense of her being like, let's see if the grass is greener. Like, is there something here? Like, could this be a thing? And the 3 of Cups is telling me that she's still keeping the options open with you, that she's still being like, well, they're there, I can come back, like, but she's still sampling what else is out there. So I don't know if she told you this, I don't know if you're finding out through other people, or if you've just done your research, but the Fool card makes me feel like telling you that you have to kind of keep it moving. Like, just because she's with another person doesn't mean she's going to stay with that person. And you don't want to be left in a situation where you're not potentially seeing what else is out there or moving on. And a lot of this can be also about just opening yourself up to new experiences. I personally don't think that relationship's going to stick. I think you're going to see her go back and forth with that person for a little bit. I think that it's not going to work. That's the feeling that I get, because the 3 of Cups and the Fool is saying that, you know, on one hand, she can keep repeating the same patterns and falling back into it. On the other hand, it can be saying that you need to be careful whether or not you want to run the risk of being played like a fool, going and being with somebody who may be having affairs or other things. And then, you know, the Justice card coming up is calling out the Libra specifically. And it's also talking about cause and effect in relationships and the balance, that as long as you're there and she knows that you're kind of waiting around, you know, in the distance to see if she's going to come back, she has that security, and that you really actually want to take a step away, even though it's scary and it's kind of going into the unknown, because if it's not going to work and if she's going to fall, you got to let her fall, because that's part of the karmic balance. She doesn't get to hold on to both partners. That's not allowing you to move forward, and it's also keeping you in the same pattern of kind of dealing with the same stuff with her. Sorry, I'm reading your comment now. She was having an affair with him since last year when we separated, and she got with him in December of 2024. Well, then the trash took itself out, dude. I mean, I hate to be like that, but, you know, the cards are saying the same thing. The cards are saying, do not get played for a fool. That's why as soon as I saw that card come up with the 3 of Cups, I was like, she's either fucking around or she's had an affair or there's something that has happened, and maybe you can come back from that. I don't know. You know, somebody who's got a lot of Sag placements can definitely be a little bit more forgiving and understanding. But if this is a habit in the past, okay, it's saying be careful, because you're going to see it's going to be the same kind of cycles and patterns that you're going to be going through with her. And then you have the Justice card coming up saying that it's about balance, law, karma, you know, cause and effect. I see this as you kind of looking at the situation going like, if that's meant to be, then she will realize that it's me, and she will come back around and she will clean up her act, and she will decide to turn over, you know, a new leaf. Rather than being like, hey, I'm here, you know, no. Let that situation work itself out. I think a Libra rising who's making the mistake of having an affair with a coworker, cheating on a spouse, and then in turn, you know, really thinking that's going to be a significant relationship moving forward, the odds are not in her favor. All it's going to take is the eclipse in the retrograde for like the next like 4 to 8 weeks to kind of do its thing. And then you're going to see some things that are going to unfold. Likely Saturn and Neptune going into her 7th house could actually mean that literally a coworker is deceiving her. I hate to be like that, but I don't feel positive about the cards. Insult to injury. The card is at the bottom of the deck is the Hangman. So it's saying the same thing. It's like, just wait and let the universe handle the details. Will they come back? I'm sure with the Justice card, it's saying that you will have an opportunity to literally hold the scales in your hand and determine whether or not you can see yourself getting back with this person, and if you feel like it's going to be a fair and balanced relationship. But what you really want to ask yourself is, do you want to fall back into the same cycle where you're going to have somebody who's going to have a habit of sussing around and seeing what else is out there? That's the question. You know, I think that's got to be a really difficult thing to come back from if you're with somebody for 6 years and then they end up doing that. But like I said, you could be a different person. But that Hangman is really encouraging you to like really like let someone or something go. Now, if you're a Capricorn rising, you know, knowing that you're going to have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, conjunct Saturn in your 9th, this means that your philosophy on relationships is changing. It's evolving. It can also mean that there can be meditations on love. You can be working with a guru. You can be doing, you know, I think like maybe taking like love or relationship classes or like webinars about, you know, how to better your relationship with others and how to stay kind of open and like what you're learning about this process. But you're going to have to go and look at your moon sign, and you're going to have to see what's going on with your natal moon, and that's going to give you more insight about your relationships. And as a Capricorn rising, you're getting ready to see that Saturn is, finally going to be changing signs and going into Aries. So you're going to definitely be focusing more on your own home and your own life and your own living situation. And then Jupiter goes into your 7th. So you do have a lot of really good opportunities for relationships over the summer. I don't think that this is your end-all be-all option. Perhaps maybe that this is going to be something that's going to hang around until the fall, but I would encourage you to really think long and hard before you decide to let this person back in, because I do think that some of these behaviors will die hard, and you have to let the universe kind of handle the details on this one. Good luck. I know that's difficult. I'm sorry to hear that. What's up, Rosie? I will add you to my list. Come back and give me insight on that ASAP. I'd like to hear what ends up happening. I've got Amanda, MJ, Jennifer. You guys are all up next. So we're going to call final call on readings. So if you guys want to get your readings, get it in. Amanda says, I'm a 29-degree Virgo rising. Recently went through a breakup from a long-term relationship. Someone new has shown interest in me, and he seems very nice. We have a lot of weird similarities. Can you pull 3 cards and see if I should close the chapter with my ex and move forward with this new connection, or another one that may show up in the future? By the way, you did a reading back in November while my relationship with my ex was basically at a standstill, and you said that reading I would make a decision in the spring because my chart was up in the spring, and you nailed it. Not that I'm surprised, you've been spot on. That's why I want to know what you think. All right, well, let's take a look here. It's been nothing but Virgo risings. It was like last week too during the live readings. It was all Virgo risings. They're all going through it. Why? Why is that? Can anybody tell me why Virgo risings are getting so many readings? Can you guys tell me why that's happening right now? Think about their transits. Why are so many Virgo risings getting readings? All right, so let's see what's going on. I mean, this goes without being said. All right, so Amanda, you're going to see over the next month Mercury, your ruler, Venus, which rules relationships and values, what you hold on to, what you let go of, going retrograde through your 7th, okay, right on your descendant. And Saturn is coming up and Neptune is there. So you're about to make significant decisions about what relationships you hold on to, who you really love, what you want, what you don't want. It's not uncommon when you see like a Venus-Saturn transit, the relationship, the transit can begin with the relationship ending, and the transit can end with you meeting a new person. It's kind of the same thing with Saturn in the 7th. While Saturn's hitting Neptune at a critical degree, it's like, can I trust this person? Can I not? Am I getting what I need from my partner? Are they absent? And nothing's really going to feel clear or solid until like the end of April, going into like mid-May. Okay, so pace yourself, take your time. Because also some of the new people who come in, they can seem like very charming and enchanting, but you may not always see them so clearly, or the way that they're portraying themselves may not be who they really are. I'm not saying this isn't a good game. Yes, a couple of you guys got it right. It's because they have the North Node in their 7th house, and they have retrogrades in their 7th house, and their 7th house is about readings, therapies. They're astrologer, right? It's about hearing in a relationship with an intuitive or a psychic. And so while Mercury is going retrograde there, they need help. While Venus is going retrograde there, they're more willing to pay for it, right? And it's also about their relationships. All right, so let's take a look. What can we tell Amanda about what is going on? Yes, and Neptune's going into their 8th house. They're also more aware of psychic, intuitive, occultish things. What are the signs of the two guys, really quick? Are you here? Yep, those houses are critical. What are the signs of these dudes? Are either one of them a water sign or a Taurus? Just curious, because that's what's coming up in the cards. We've got King of Cups, the 9 of Pentacles, and the Hierophant. Okay? So something that kind of comes to mind, oh, there's another king. Something that kind of comes to mind is that the King of Cups is about somebody who is warm, somebody who is affectionate, they're loving, they're generous, they are romantic, they're emotionally available, they mean what they say what they mean, and somebody who really wears their heart on their sleeve. Could this mean that this is you, that you're going through a period of like some kind of emotional maturity? Sure, that could be you, embodying that more in like a taking action masculine kind of way. But this could also be talking about where you have been in the past with your previous relationship. And maybe you felt like there was a lot of love there. It's hard to actually move on from somebody where there's like a lot of connections and a lot of feelings. And maybe you're kind of going through this thing right now where you're like, you know what, maybe it is time for me to kind of move on to somebody new. I had that, but you know, it's just not the same anymore. Now we've got the Nine of Pentacles coming up in the current position. So the Nine of Pentacles is like strong, independent woman. This is, I don't need anybody. You know, if somebody comes in, great, but like I can take care of myself. I can hold my own. It's not about looking. It's about if somebody comes in, they can benefit you, but it's not necessarily something that you feel like you need to complete you. This is also a card that's about enjoying the fruits of your labor or enjoying your riches or, you know, really guarding or protecting your free space or like your free time. So I don't know how long you've been broken up. Some people can move on from a relationship super quick. Other people need time. So I'm not going to be the one to determine that. But the cards are saying basically, do not be so willing to just give up your free time or your freedom. Enjoy your freedom. Be here right now. Be present with yourself for this moment. And really make sure that, you know, you're getting to do everything that you want to do. As like a fair warning, when you have Venus go retrograde in your 7th house and it's conjunct Saturn, it can be a time where there is a significant person that comes in that could be like a long-term, you know, like love affair or a spouse or a long-term relationship or a partner, because the retrogrades are karmic. Saturn is your 5th house ruler. And it can mean that somebody is coming into your orbit that could end up being a long-term relationship. So knowing that there is the possibility for that, I would feel really inclined to tell you, like, you don't have to rush the process. You know, if you don't want to, you can be present with getting to know them and enjoying that and feeling like, okay, if this is potentially going to be something like long-term, and if this is your last little sliver of like freedom before you're on lockdown mode, enjoy it and make sure that you're going into it at your own pace. I also say that because the Hierophant's coming up, and the Hierophant is about long-term commitment. This is a card that is associated with marriage, tradition. This is also about taking time to really think about long and hard emotionally what you're looking for. You know, why did you leave that relationship? Why did you walk away? I know you're asking, you know, if you should close the relationship with your ex, but to me, she's looking away from him. Like, it almost feels as if the romantic connection and the dynamic is not the same. She's looking in the direction of the future. She's wanting long-term commitment or marriage or partnership or a life partner. She wants somebody who's going to be more traditional or somebody who's going to be more reliable. And she's like, that's what I want. And she may feel like he's great, but he's not checking all of those boxes. You get what I'm saying? And so I think that with the Hierophant coming up, it might mean that you are talking to a counselor or a therapist. It might mean that you're getting a reading. It might mean that you're talking to elders in your life and being like, how did you know when they were the one? Or, you know, what did you do when you wanted to meet somebody? Or when you were like stuck? It's pretty common. Like I said, Venus-Saturn transits, Saturn in the 7th house transits. This is like, you know, one door closes, another one opens. And so because she's looking towards the Hierophant, I feel like this is about you thinking about where you see yourself in a long-term goal when it comes to relationship. And obviously the other card that popped in here was the King of Wands. So she's looking at another king. This is like saying, been here, done that, enjoying my time. I don't have to make a commitment right now. I'm looking at what else is kind of out there and whether or not there's a possibility of being able to move forward and seeing what's up with this dude, because I feel like it can be a potential relationship. And also the King of Wands is somebody who is more active, more dynamic, more passionate, more exciting, more fun, like very different than where you've been. And it's not going to hurt at the very least to casually get to know them. We're just not making any serious decisions until after these retrogrades are over. So as you get to the end of April going into May, you're going to have more clarity. But this is kind of giving you that heads up and that warning that is saying either something real and serious is coming or that you're kind of thinking more in that direction. And that's a good thing with Saturn in your 7th house. Usually when Saturn leaves your 7th house, he'll leave a gift. So it'll be gone for a couple months. Saturn will come back later in the fall briefly, but it's going to trine Jupiter, which means you're going to be sharing with some of your friends and your allies and, you know, some of your closest people. Hey, I met this person. They're really amazing. You know, I want you to meet them too. So it's only going to get better. But this is that significant turning point where if you want to get out of a relationship, you want to swap partners, if you want to leave somebody behind, now is definitely the time to do it. Hopefully that's helpful for you. You got to look at the directions of where they're looking in the cards, because that's going to tell you a lot depending on where they're facing or who they're facing. All right, so we've got Maria, or MJ, sorry, MJ. And then we've got Jennifer, and then we've got Lewis. You guys are all on deck. Thanks, Red Druidess. She has been a member for 10 months, and readings are now closed. But you guys can catch me back here next week. All right, let's take a look. What can we tell MJ? MJ says, are people spying on me? Sorry. Cap Rising, let's take a look. MJ, are people spying on me? Well, let's see. Lovers, Ace of Cups, and the High Priestess. I don't know if I'm slightly more unhinged or if some people are spying on me. You know, I'm kind of wondering with the Ace of Pentacles coming up with the High Priestess. I mean, I'm just curious. Have you asked another reader this? Like, did you ask somebody else, or did you pay for a reading? And did somebody say, like, oh, somebody's, you know, doing witchcraft on you, or, you know, somebody is still interested in you and they're trying to kind of see where you're at physically or what you've got going on? Like, did somebody spook you? Or have you had the physical feeling of being unsettled? That's the other interpretation that I can have. No, I haven't. Okay. Just be careful. Like, you know, I always tell people when you get readings, like, be skeptical. Like, even with me, like, I get readings and I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. And occasionally I will get a reader that will really blow my mind. And then I'm like, okay, this stuff's real. But definitely, like, be careful who else you ask this question to, okay? Because I kind of get the feeling that the Ace of Pentacles coming up with the High Priestess could mean that you could be spending money trying to unhex yourself or clear yourself or like whatever. And like, I don't want people to kind of take advantage of you. The Lover's card is a card that does make me feel like it's more, there's more either some interest in kind of seeing where you are now, what you're doing, what you've got going on, who you're with. Like, it's more like, I would say that's kind of like evil eye-ish. You know, there could be some like jealousy or some people questioning, you know, how you're doing and if you're doing well and if you're successful and if you're happy and if you're in love, you know, like somebody's like trying to kind of see what you've got going on in your personal life. I do think that there are people around who are curious, but do I think there are people who are like outside of your bedroom window or outside of your house or looking into yourself physically? No. But I can get the impression with that Lover's card, and especially because it's facing the Ace of Coins, that people are wondering what your status is, what you've got going on, or they're trying to kind of look through your postings, or they're trying to look through your social media. The ex-workmate tends to call me when I disappear from online platforms. Yeah, there is somebody who is curious to see like what your physical status is, and whether that's what you've got going on romantically or what you've got going on life-wise. I do feel like the Ace of Pentacles tells me that you're safe. Like, you're solid. Nothing's going to happen to you. Nobody's going to hurt you. It is definitely stalker season right now with Mars in Cancer. That's a very stalkerish energy. And also with, you know, Mars making aspects to Neptune, where people are looking at videos and pictures and people are more emotionally kind of reactive if people are vanishing or if they're seeing things online. And also with the retrogrades in Pisces. So, you know, knowing that you're like a Capricorn rising, having like the retrogrades and the things going on in your third house, you might be like, okay, you know, I'm going to do a week off of Instagram, or I'm going to be, you know, shutting down my socials for a bit, or I'm not going to be responding to comments. And then you're gone for a while, and then it's like, boom, you get blown up with phone calls and text messages. I do think that the Ace of Pentacles coming up with the High Priestess is saying that this is about like really listening to your gut and your intuition as to who you want to connect with, who you want to spend time with, who you want to be responding to. I do also think that the High Priestess can be about like your dreams, your intuition, your visions, telling you whether or not something or somebody feels safe to share personal information with, or to be interacting with, or to be responding to. Like, it is possible to use the Ace of Pentacles as like a barrier or like a wall. So it can mean that if you feel like some people are getting too close, you know, you're blocking them, or you're limiting access, or maybe you decide to go private for a little bit. Certainly the High Priestess can be about that if you're feeling like you need to kind of protect your privacy and your peace of mind. But I think it's more curiosity and interest to see what you've got going on personally and socially more than anything else. But still, you know, prying eyes can definitely have some emotional or psychological effects. So it wouldn't surprise me, as Saturn is continuing to kind of move through, you know, your third house with Venus and Mercury, if you go missing or you go MIA for a little bit, you know, people are going to come calling, or they're going to be trying to reach out to you. And you have to ask yourself, are they doing this because you're missing, or are they doing this because they genuinely care and they want to communicate with you, right? None of their business, my Moon in Scorpio says. I would have to agree with you. And also, you know, Saturn's going to go in and out of your third house. So there is like this sense of less is more. The less that you tell people about your success, your professional success, your financial success, and other things that you're kind of building and working on, there is this sense of wanting to keep that a little bit more private, wanting to keep it close to home. You know, you don't need to feel like you need to be sharing things with people until it's like over and done with. And even then, you know, questioning whether or not you want to share some of that with them is really the bigger question. But yeah, I get the impression people are coming back around primarily because they're noticing your absence. And if it's not people who are trying to make an effort when you are around, then that just goes to show you that somebody who's kind of feeding off of your energy and trying to kind of keep tabs on what you're doing, might be time to kind of go rogue for a little bit with the High Priestess. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck. All right, we have got Jennifer, Lewis, and Sasha. You guys are all on deck. All right, Jennifer says, am I moving to Florida or Arizona? Florida for work, Arizona for retirement. Well, let's take a look. I'll pull a card on each one and let you know what the outcome is. So let's pull a card for Florida. Let's pull a card for Arizona, and then I'll let you know the outcome. All right, so we've got Florida here, the Emperor, and we have the Seven of Wands coming up for Arizona for retirement. So kind of funny stuff. So first of all, the Emperor is about work. Okay, so it is about work. It is about responsibility. It is about maturity. This can be a card that's talking about handling business, being the boss, being on top of stuff, and like loving it, like being in charge. So the feeling that I'm getting off the bat, just having the Emperor coming up, is like you might be offered a pretty sweet deal work-wise, or there might be like a really great opportunity for you to be able to go to Florida and do some work, and it like might be like life-changing and something that really makes you feel like you're on top of your game and that you're really enjoying it. The Arizona card, on the other hand, is the Seven of Wands, which is not a bad card. This is about standing your ground. This is about going after what you want, not backing down. It can represent a little bit of like a challenge, or there being some hurdles or some things to overcome. Knowing that you pulled the Emperor card makes me wonder if you're like convincing yourself, I'm going to retire, I'm going to Arizona, that's where I'm going to be. And then this job opportunity comes up work-wise, and you're like, oh, am I going to retire? And you're like literally having to get yourself to slow down and accept that maybe it is time to retire, and that you don't have to take on this opportunity, and you know, it's okay for you to say no and to scale back and go and enjoy like your retirement years. And that may be challenging for you to slow down when you feel like you might still have a little bit of pep in your step. So just according to the cards, Arizona is definitely going to be more difficult and more challenging. And whether that's like actually moving there, getting situated there, maybe finally releasing this feeling of needing to be working and needing to be productive, versus the Emperor, which is kind of like a hell yeah, go to Florida, you know, do the thing, get everything in order. And like this could be something that could be really positive for you and offer you not only a lot of financial opportunity, but a lot of personal fulfillment and like really feeling like you went out on top before you ultimately did decide to retire. Now, the card that I get for both of the situations, just like as the outcome, right? So like, what is the outcome going to be? I get the Chariot card. So it's saying, do not wait, do not waste time, pick a lane, stick to it, you know, get ready to move. Certainly the Chariot card is about getting your ducks in a row, and it can feel like literally there's two opposing forces, that you've got one horse going in one direction, one horse going in another direction, and you're like, where am I going? What am I doing? So there is this, okay, so she's saying I'm in Aries. So that makes sense, right? Like, you know, Saturn rules your career, and these retrogrades are kind of happening in Pisces, coming into conjunction with Saturn, which would, for me, would be like, oh, I'm going to retire. I want to retire. Yeah, I want to, you know, go and be somewhere and just kind of hang out and rest and relax and not do anything. But as you see Saturn and Neptune come into Aries and going into your sign, suddenly there's this revamping of energy that's like, well, I don't have to work the way I used to be working, and I could do something and be more independent and be a little bit more like fierce, or maybe like work for myself, or like do my own thing, and I could, you know, like do it different. And you're going to feel like there is this new dream that you're hoping to kind of achieve when it comes to your career. My money is on, I think you're going to end up going to Florida. This is coming from somebody who might be a little biased. I mean, I grew up in Arizona. I lived in Arizona for a very long time. Parts of Arizona are beautiful, but I feel like I get the impression at the very least you're going to give it a shot going to Florida and just kind of seeing what that looks like, especially if it does look like it could be as positive for you in the professional field as it kind of looks. So get ready, because knowing that Jupiter's going into Cancer and the Chariot deals with Cancer, it's about getting ready to move home. So you're going to be seeing this change happening for you this summer. Hope that's helpful for you. Jennifer, keep me updated. I have no problem going to Florida. Florida's awesome. I spent a month in Florida last spring. It was like so much fun. We were in Key West. But definitely let us know where you land. I've got Lewis, Sasha, and then Kimberly. You're very welcome. Lewis says, hey Candace, I just turned 33 on March 17th. Well, happy belated. The Ides of March. I thought it would be a good gift to myself to get a tarot reading. I'm a Pisces sun, Cancer rising, Virgo moon. What can I expect for my 33rd year? Major changes? Advice, please. Okay. Well, first of all, knowing that you are a Cancer rising, now Mars is direct in your sign, so it's like full speed ahead. You're having eclipses in your moon in the 3rd house, so watch for changes maybe with vehicles, maybe traveling. Could be some challenges with siblings, neighbors, or documents. And being a Pisces sun, now Saturn is leaving your sign in the 9th house and it's going into the 10th. So like this is this big grow up year, knowing that Saturn's going to go into your 10th house. And when you turn 33, your 33 is your Jesus year, right? So according to annual perfections, that is your 10th house year, which basically means now it's all about your 10th house. Mars is going to be the planet you're going to want to watch this year. So it's going to go from Cancer all the way to about Capricorn by the end of the year. So it's all personal, home, family, financial, health, work, dynamic stuff. And you're going to want to watch solar eclipses, retrogrades, anything going on in your 10th house. It's about a whole new career path or status coming for you. And it's about redefining who you are. So you have to go and look at your natal Mars, and you have to look at transit Mars throughout the year. Anyway, cards that you get are the 7 of Pentacles, the 2 of Wands, and the Chariot card. So this is about maybe in the past couple of years, feeling like you've been planting seeds, right? So there's been patience, persistence, really focusing on some of your long-term goals where you've been investing your time and your energy, thinking about how you can be making subtle changes to really get you to where you want to go. Then you have the 2 of Wands coming up, and this is basically saying options and choices are being presented to you this year. So obviously knowing that, Saturn rules your relationship house, it's going into the 10th, it's like Do I want to work for this company or that company? Do I want to work for somebody or work for myself? Do I want to be single or do I want to be in a relationship? This is the year that you make those choices, like big decisions about what your status out in the world is going to be. And you're going to feel also like things are opening up. I mean, I feel like, I'm 35 now. It wasn't until I was about 33 that I was like, oh, the Saturn return stuff is over. And you got a double dose of it because you had Saturn going through Aquarius, then you have Saturn going through Pisces, which is your sun sign. And so this is going to be the first break that you're kind of moving away from some of this Saturn energy. And you feel like now you're free, or you can kind of redefine who you are without that oppression of Saturn that's been kind of on your back. Finally, you have the Chariot card, which means that you're figuring out not only where you're going, but you're starting the process of getting there. So this could mean moves, relocations, big changes for home and family matters. This can also mean that you're really using your intuition and your gut to navigate some of your professional stuff, which I think is true with Neptune in your 10th house. I think that this is about dreaming about a new career or a new identity, and how you're taking steps to make that happen. Maybe using your intuition and your emotions a little bit more in the process. This new solar eclipse coming up at the end of the month is setting the stage for a new beginning there. And you just had a lunar eclipse in your 3rd house. So it's about shifts of the state of mind. Now it's going to be about how you're communicating and addressing matters at work, or when it comes to your professional life or authority figures. And pretty much the better part of like the next 3 years, you're going to be building out a whole new kind of career path. So knowing that that's starting in your 33rd year, you need to go and look at if there's any natal planets in your 10th house. You need to go and look at where your natal Mars is. That's going to give you more of an idea of how you're going to actually navigate this change. But traveling, relocating, and also using your intuition when it comes to navigating some of these kind of like big girl things that are happening, or big boy things that could be happening in your career world, definitely is going to be like the emphasis for you this year. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Happy belated again. Enjoy that year. The 33rd year is always a big turning point. Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. I always appreciate feedback. Hopefully the stream is going okay for you guys too. So we've got Sasha and then Kimberly. Sasha says, Pisces Sun and Rising, I'm very much focused on myself and my finances. I like that, especially with the retrogrades and the eclipses in your sign, which are slowly getting better. But I can't help but wonder if there's any love in the cards. Seems like everyone is taken or likes someone else. That could be the perspective of having the South Node in your 7th house. It's like, what about me? But the truth is you're in a really good period right now. Mercury rules your 7th house of relationships, and it's going retrograde in your sign. So it's supposed to be about you reassessing and thinking about what you want in relationships. Equally, you can bring people in. And now Mars is direct in your 5th house too, and Jupiter will be there next year. So actually this summer, so it's going to be in June. That could be a good year for relationships. Well, let's take a look. Let's see. So you're focused on yourself. You're wondering, are you going to meet somebody? Is there going to be somebody for you? Ace of Wands, 7 of Swords, and the Page of Swords. So the Ace of Wands can be an indication that there's something coming this summer, which I would agree with the transits. I feel like, June, July, August are a time that I'd be paying attention, knowing that Jupiter is going to light up your 5th house of romance. It does talk about a fire month, so it can be closer to like July and August as you're getting into Leo season. This is also about like passion and like the spark coming back. And it can mean that you can kind of connect and you can meet somebody, but there can be this sense of, do I want them? Do I not want them? Can I trust a partner or a relationship again? Do I know what I want? You're supposed to be very inherently selfish right now with like Saturn and Neptune still in your sign, retrogrades in your sign. You're supposed to be focusing on your appearance. You're supposed to be focusing on your goals and what you want out of life. And whether or not you can picture or imagine a relationship with another person. And if you're open to it, then it's just that shift and like really kind of striking the match and saying, okay, bring it, universe, I'm ready to meet someone. There can be some fears and hesitation around trusting or opening up to someone. And I do feel like with the 7 of Swords, it's kind of breaking down and peeling away that doubt of whether or not you're going to meet someone. And if you feel like it is in the cards for you. I'm not going to candy coat it. Having South Node eclipses in your 7th house could mean people from the past come back. There can be this feeling of like other people being inconsistent or unavailable. There can also be karmic relationships and people who can come in from past lives that are kind of checking in at this time in your life, and you're kind of feeling like they come in for a period of time. And then in the fall, you're going to see that there's going to be more eclipses happening in Pisces. Granted, the eclipse in Pisces in the fall, it's going to trine Jupiter in your 5th, so that could be great for dating, romance, or pregnancy. And then you're going to have another eclipse, a solar eclipse, that's going to be in Virgo in your 7th house, and it'll oppose Saturn and Neptune. So somebody might be really interested in you, but you might be like a little unsure. And I'm wondering if that's what's kind of coming up, that you meet somebody over the summer, you're kind of getting to know them, and then you're kind of like, you know, am I sure about this person? Can I trust them? Do I want them? I really encourage you to focus on communication, because I feel like the Page of Swords coming up is about kind of communicating and expressing your needs without feeling like you have to bail on a potential connection. It can be an indication that there's going to be a connection with a air sign. So it could be a Aquarius, a Gemini, a Libra, somebody who's got a lot of air elements. And it might mean that you're just taking it slow and getting to know them and kind of feeling it out before you feel like you're willing to make any major personal sacrifices and like commitments to another person. But it's all about you trusting and like also like listening to your intuition. Swords can very much be about intellect and like mentally what you're thinking. And it's not that you're overthinking things, but if you're feeling like, nah, this is a wrap or this isn't a good match, you will be able to kind of keep it moving. Sasha says, I do have an ex that I miss, but he's with someone else right now. Always wondered if he missed me. I do think that I would be really cautious with the Seven of Swords and the Page of Swords coming up, because connecting with people who might be entangled with other relationships, you may have a little bit of communication, but it may not necessarily materialize into like a relationship. And it's totally normal to be thinking about exes while your 7th house ruler is retrograde in your sign. But because it's dancing with Neptune and also Venus, there's this sense of being like, oh, you know, I miss them. Do they miss me? Like, do I feel wanted? Do I feel loved? Like, don't get too stuck in that, right? So much of Saturn and Neptune going into your 2nd house soon is not just about money stuff and building on your financial security, but building healthier self-esteem and the way that you feel about yourself, and not allowing your worth to be defined as to whether or not somebody wants you, right? That's important because Mercury is connected to your 7th house. So right now it's like, I don't have anybody. Does anybody want me? I would be like, no, that's not what's important. I want me. I know I'm good enough, and like be building that up. So that way, as you're getting into the summer and then the end of the year, you're going to see there's going to be this shift, and you're going to realize that like you are lovable, you are valuable, like somebody will love to be with you. And I think things get really good at the end of the year. You're going to see as a, I think you said you're a Cancer rising. You're Pisces rising. As you get to the end of the year, you're going to see like a lot of planets that are going to be going through Sagittarius, Scorpio, Capricorn, but I think about like all the oppositions between your 11th and your 5th house and the trines to your 7th, and that could materialize as like a really good relationship turning point. Cancer moon. Okay. So for some reason I thought there was some Cancer in there, but I didn't even see it. So that's a lot of water, girl. That's a lot of water in your chart. Trust the process. Be more focused on how you can be investing in yourself, and be careful with kind of getting entangled with thinking about or communicating with exes, because whatever is coming, it's going to be something that's going to be new, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, Kimberly? You always have a funny way of being my last one. Kimberly says, hey, Candace, I'm dreaming big and feeling the abundance now, as well as the future abundance. What does the card say they want me to know or do? Pisces rising and a Leo sun. Let's take a look. We got a couple of Pisces risings that popped in here at the end. It wasn't just all the Virgos. The Pisces waited till the end to ask their questions. All right, so what can we tell Kimberly? She's dreaming big. She's feeling abundance. But what do the cards want her to know or do? Card that you get is the Six of Wands. That's probably one of the best cards you can pull. Confirmed with the Ace of Cups. So the enthusiasm, the optimism, the emotional, yes, I got this, it's coming, is actually what's really helping with the forward motion. Six of Wands is like a homecoming card, right? So you see like soldiers that are coming back from war. Obviously, they're exhausted, but they're coming back in one piece. Nobody's injured, nobody's hurt, and they're being celebrated and they're being welcomed back. So it can talk about reconnections, reunions, positive opportunities coming back around, connections with people that you could be working with or collaborating that are coming back. anything you're working on that you're getting ready to pitch, promote, sell, or put out there will be well received. People are going to be like, I love that. We want more of it. How can we see more of you? How can we get more of you? And like wanting to encourage you to keep going. And being happy to see you return in some way. So I'm wondering what that's about. You know, is it having reoccurring meetings with people? Maybe you gave some pitches and now everything is forward motion. People love what you're proposing or what you're wanting to kind of put out there. And they're like, yes, we want more of it. And that Ace of Cups tells me that it's also about the support and the relationships that are coming into your life right now and the impact that that's having on you emotionally, having good people in your corner that's incentivizing you to kind of keep going and feel good about what you're working on. So it looks like if you have any kind of audience or anybody who you're pitching ideas or even like relationships or working partnerships with, these people are going to like it. They're going to say, we want more of it. How can we get more? How can we have what you have to offer? How can we help you? How can we be a part of it? And people celebrating whatever it is that you're able to accomplish and kind of put out there. Look for significant turning points in June, okay? Also increments of 6, so like the 6th month. It could be the 6th day of a month, 6 weeks from now. That's when you're going to see that stuff kind of start moving. And there could also be opportunities for travel, or you're being asked to go somewhere to share something, as the 6 does kind of represent getting on your horse and going somewhere, but going somewhere where people are asking you to come and visit or to share what you've been working on. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Kimberly. All right, guys. Well, that is it for me for the evening. I thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you can, give me a thumbs up and like the stream before we head off. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I will be back here on Sunday. We're going to be talking all about Neptune's ingress into Aries for the astro weather, so you don't want to miss that. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this video, and I will catch you guys all back here on Sunday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will catch you here very soon. Take care.